Goldman Sachs has predicted that 300 million jobs will be displaced by AI. But what they just released was not necessarily who's going to be losing, but who's going to be winning. See, what Goldman Sachs has done is identified a shift in the AI investment cycle that's happening now. It's a shift from the infrastructure like chips and cloud to the application and productivity layer. Quote, companies with high labor costs and AI automation exposure may see the biggest profit boosts. And today we're going to cover this. We're going to cover who's winning, what the next phase looks like, and who's losing. But what's really shocking to me is Goldman Sachs is saying the quiet part out loud. This is the part that it feels like big tech companies are saying. They're saying, well, it's not AI. AI is not the reason that layoffs are happening. But Goldman Sachs just said the quiet part out loud, saying that the companies with the high labor cost and the AI exposure are going to see the mass layoffs. They're going to see the biggest productivity gains. It's funny the vocabulary these guys use. And guys, we covered this. We've covered the proof is right there. They're saying this is just shocking to me that these companies are saying they're laying off people due to AI and then turning around and saying that they're not laying off people due to AI. It's really surprising to me because we covered this just last week. Vercella replaced 90% of their sales development representatives, 90% with AI bots. They're using AI agents. They are not using SDRs anymore. You can check out that video here. We also saw a couple weeks ago that Amazon leaked an internal memo, or an internal Amazon memo was leaked that showed that they plan on implementing 600,000 additional robots, which will replace tens, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs. In fact, you may not recognize this, but I remember somebody on the channel a few months ago posted that they work in a warehouse and their job is going to be safe. And to that, I say, well, just so you know, Amazon has 1 million robots in warehouses now, and they're not stopping. That internal memo shows, you can watch that video here. So why do I say this, guys? Understanding the way that the world is moving and understanding the way that the employment market is moving is going to be really important for you if you're going to remain relevant, respected, and financially free. If you as a man are going to be able to provide for your family, stay relevant, have that self-respect, be able to look yourself in the mirror, you're going to need to evolve and adapt because jobs are changing. And if that's what you want, guys, this is the time to subscribe to the channel. I'm bringing you a fresh video Monday through Saturday on what's happening in the workforce and how you can adjust and how you can adapt. Because guys, now is the time. It's just shocking to me when I go on X and people are so surprised that these layoffs are happening or something's occurring in their industry. It's like, bro, this has been so obvious. We covered that story 6 months ago. And you're surprised that it's manifesting now? What is going on, guys? What is going on? All right, so listen, we talked about what's happening. Before we talk about which firms are very well poised over this next phase, I want to talk about the phase. I want to break down the phase a little bit more closely, okay? So their statement here, Goldman Sachs' statement, is that we are about to undergo a shift in the investment cycle, okay? And the first phase one, is hardware's chips. This is where companies like NVIDIA are really thriving. And if you think about a gold rush this way, the people that win the most in a gold rush are the people selling the picks and the shovels. That's NVIDIA. That's why their stock is way up. That's why they're one of the biggest traded stock companies in the world and part of the Magnificent Seven. They're selling hardware and chips. So that's been the phase. And we've been talking about this as well. Hundreds of billions of dollars being poured into this hardware and infrastructure. Phase two is the hyperscaler expansion, guys. That's the data centers. That's the cloud scaling. We're seeing this with Amazon Cloud. We're seeing this with Microsoft. Cloudflare. By the way, I don't know if you've realized this, just a quick side note. Have you realized how fragile our entire ecosystem is? Just this week, Cloudflare went down and about half of my softwares that I use were down. A few weeks ago, Amazon Web Services was down and it kind of shut down the web. So within a course of a couple of weeks, we've seen the entire internet, the entire communication ecosystem be shut down because one or two clouds went down. Have you recognized how fragile everything is? Those two events kind of shocked me, but anyway, long story short, phase 2 is building out all these data centers, these clouds. This is a tricky part for companies now. A lot of areas don't want these huge data centers built in their backyard. We've covered this. The data centers are great for short-term jobs. You're looking at thousands of jobs in the short term. After the data center is completed, you can man a data center with dozens of employees. You don't need this huge workforce once the data center is built, which I think is interesting, and robots will probably take more and more of a position there. But what Goldman Sachs is kind of predicting here is that we're starting to move into phase 3. We're starting to move into phase 3. And what is phase 3? That is using the AI to deliver the value. Embedding AI into all your business processes, into your softwares, into your workflows, into your customer interactions, into your operations. The things that boost revenue, margin, productivity. And by the way, I don't think what people understand when they see this language from companies, and this is what we're covering on the channel, guys, is that the biggest gains from productivity is replacing a human being with an AI software. Humans are very expensive. We're unpredictable. We get sick. We have all these inner office politics. Like, you got to deal with Karen from HR. You guys know her and love her. The reality is that the way that the workforce is operating now is going to be completely changed. Because why? Because these companies need to save money. And how are they going to do that? They're going to use AI software. This is phase 3. And this is, guys, we're already seeing this manifest. Salesforce we've covered this in a video. Salesforce deleted 45% of their customer service staff. They're using AI. Klarna, another receipt here. I'll share a link to the video. Klarna deleted and fired, I believe it was 4,400 employees in their customer service to replace them with AI agents. Are you starting to see the trend? Are you starting to see the trend? It's happening. So you've got these examples, and what's happening is these companies are forging the way path. They're going into phase 3 of this AI ecosystem and infrastructure rollout. And when they're successful, other companies will start to copy them. And this leads us into phase 4, which is the productivity harvest, where we start to see widespread adoption of AI to replace human labor. And that is when we start to see 30% of human hours replaced by AI. That's where we start to see that prediction of 300 million jobs replaced. So that's kind of the way that things are rolling. Now, let's get into what some of these implications of these stocks are, because this prediction is very, very important, because right now what we're seeing is that the entire stock market, the entire economy is being held up, propped up by these hardware phase 1, phase 2 types of productivity, okay? So the biggest, and this is something I see in the comments, guys, by the way, love your comments. You guys are awesome. The comments are fantastic. They really help better inform me, highlight new issues. But one of the things that y'all have been highlighting in the comments is that, well, sure, AI looks good. It looks very powerful. It's going to make big change, but we're not seeing the return yet. There's all this money being invested. There's all this pump in the stock market, but we're not actually seeing the actual gains. And so that's kind of what Goldman is saying like that is about to happen. So they hear you, I hear you. Goldman Sachs is coming around saying it's about to happen. Is that because they want to pump and generate more revenue and look smart? Maybe. But let's look at their report here, because I do think it is interesting, because we are entering this next phase of AI. And why, again, this is important is because one of the things that we're noting here, and by the way, we're about to get to the section where we talk about the 5 companies that Goldman really predicts to take off. But what is interesting here is that the price to earnings ratio for a lot of these companies is like exorbitant. And just to give you an idea of what this looks like, historically, an S&P 500 company is going to be trading around 15 to 20 earnings per share multiple, okay? So that's kind of typical, 15 to 20. But some of these big tech companies are trading at enormous amounts. They're trading at these projections of insane future earnings. I'm getting a little distracted. There's all these vultures in this tree behind me. I don't know if you guys can see this. There's like a dozen vultures in this tree, kind of like they're waiting to scrape the bits off of a company that's been ravaged Anyway, I want to share an example of why this earnings per share ratio is way out of balance and why investors need this next wave of productivity to take over for their dollars to count. Otherwise, we are at risk of some sort of major recession, something along those lines, which would be very, very, very bad. Anyway, Tesla, their earnings per share is just over $1.50, but their stock is trading at a price to earnings ratio of 288x. That is insane. Whereas a normal safe amount would be somewhere between 15 to 20 price to earnings ratio. They're trading at a 288x, which is insane. NVIDIA is another company that's kind of in this range, trading at a 70x price to earnings ratio. So, I mean, when I saw what Tesla's trading at 288x, it makes it like there needs to be something really, really big and insane happening at Tesla for that to make sense. I guess that is part of why Elon is walking around saying, hey, you know, everybody's going to want a Tesla Optimus in their home, and we're going to have billions, tens of billions of them within the next 20 years or so. So, you know, that could potentially be speculation as to why they'd be big. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off course. This is kind of what's happening, guys. Phase 1, phase 2 bloated the market. Now, Goldman Sachs is predicting that phase 3 is going to be a huge pump into efficiency and productivity. Where's the efficiency and productivity come from? It comes from replacing human beings with robot AI labor, period. You cannot convince me otherwise. We've seen companies doing the layoffs already. We've seen companies looking to make things more efficient. You can say that's good, you can say that's bad. It doesn't matter. It is happening. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So anyway, how do we win? It's by predicting the market. It's by understanding what's happening. It's by preparing ourselves for the change in the future. That's by upskilling. It's by developing relationships. It's by evolving what we do. It's by identifying our weak spots and shoring them up. It's not by saying, well, I can't beat the robots. I'm going to put my head between my legs and cry. Nope, we're not going to do that because we're men. That's not what men do, guys. That's not what men do. And by the way, if you want all the tips, if you want to stay relevant, respected, financially free, of course, you subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that. Get into my newsletter, guys. It's completely free. It's completely free. AIupdate.ai. All the best stuff I'm learning through the week, the biggest stories, the best tools. AIupdate.ai. It's totally free. And you should be there. You should be there, guys. Okay. So who are these top 5 firms that Goldman predicts? So what Goldman did is they screened the Russell 1000 index for the top 25% of companies that were over 40% of wages at risk of automation. So they look at how many of their paid jobs are at risk of automation. And then they look at companies with a high labor cost as a percentage of sales, typically about 40%. So every dollar that your company makes, you spent 40 cents on sales. They also looked at companies that mentioned AI productivity in a recent earnings call. And so here's the top 5. First is H&R Block, who they noted has a 41% wage exposure to AI, a 46% labor cost to sales, and they project a 51% earnings per share boost via tax prep automation. Okay, so H&R Block is one of their top. Robert Half, RHI, predicts 79% of their labor cost to sales exposure. And this is a pretty interesting earnings per share. They estimate that they're going to get a 270% earnings per share gain in staffing automation. Guys, we have seen that HR plays a very, very big role when it comes to AI. AI can really get in there and change up an HR staff. We covered how McDonald's is doing it, Wendy's is doing it. All these companies are using AI to screen and staff. We also look at AI in standard operating procedures and AI agent creation. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff happening there. And anyway, they see Robert Half 270% earnings per share increase is pretty substantial. Cognizant, they estimate a 96% earnings per share potential in IT services. IT, another realm where we're seeing AI make a huge hit. EPAM systems, 70% earnings per share uplift. And IQVIA, who they anticipate has a 61% earnings per share boost in life science data tasks. So, what have we learned here? Well, one thing I can say is that if Goldman Sachs has already put it out, it's probably too late to start investing in it. I'm not a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form. But what I can do is read the tea leaves. And what we can say here is that we're now entering a shift. I mean, you may disagree with me, but there's been so much money that has gone into building these picks and shovels, building the chips, building data centers. There's hundreds of billions of dollars that have been allocated to these projects. And to me, what Goldman is saying is they're saying, hey, there's not going to be a lot more money going into the investments of the hardware. The money is going to be going into implementation. And we're seeing companies like Salesforce, Klarna, and a bunch more, Meta, Amazon, really doubling down to get the efficiencies. And what is going to happen is over the course of the next several months to several years, companies are going to figure it out. They're going to say, hey, we were able to replace 100% of our sales and marketing staff because we're using AI. And once they figure it out, every other company is going to follow suit. And that is the way that things are going to change dramatically quickly, how jobs are going to be replaced dramatically quickly at a scope and speed with which people are not ready. So that's what's going to happen. It's not all doom and gloom, guys. Now's the time to adjust. Now's the time to position yourself. Sign up for the newsletter, get some tools there, get some moves there. The best thing you can do, hop on the phone and call someone you haven't talked to in a while. What's going on? What are you working on? What are you excited about? How are you using AI? Have you subscribed to Mark's YouTube channel and joined the rest of the community there and guys that are preparing for what's happening ahead? I feel like I have a lot more thoughts on the topic, but it's time for me to get to my next meeting. I appreciate you guys being here, investing in you, making it happen. If you like today's video, check out yesterday's video where we talk about this victim mentality that I think is very toxic. You see it a lot in Karens, but it's also seeping over into men. Don't let it seep in to what you're doing, guys. Check out yesterday's video. It's a little bit of tough love. I think you'll enjoy it. See ya. Peace.